Alright, I want to show you guys one of the best and easiest and most valuable ways to use MarketSmith to find stocks that are breaking out and stocks that are setting up in a nice pivot area. And even if you don't have MarketSmith, I think we'll take a look at a few good stocks and you might learn something from that as well. So let's jump right in here. And this cheat code, if you will, is right here in the stock action area. First of all, let's get distracted for just a minute and point out that only 64 stocks in the MarketSmith universe were up on significant volume. 550 were down on significant volume. So today definitely was a distribution day. But that's not what I want to show you. What I want to show you is they locate for you stocks that are breaking out today. And we want to be cognizant of these. If they're still within 3 or 4% of their buy point, we might be able to pick them up the following day. And if they are extended from their buy points, then we can watch for them to pull back to their pivot areas. And all you do is you just click on them. And when you click on it, it pulls up the MarketSmith charts. And lo and behold, here are the 6 stocks that have broken out today. And then we can just click on them and voila, there's the chart, the daily, the weekly, the monthly. So we have today Vertex Pharmaceuticals, Everest Group, Adobe, CDW, Elastic, and Stevanato Group. So we'll come back to these in just a minute and just take a look at the fundamentals and so forth. But let me show you the other little shortcut. So, like we said, MarketSmith shows you the stocks that are breaking out today, and then also stocks that are near a pivot point. A pivot point is a tight area of consolidation that we can trade off of. If it breaks above the pivot, we can go long and set a stop beneath the pivot, provided the pivot area is, say, 5% or less. Otherwise, you might just do an arbitrary stop. Or a staggered stop of, like half 5 and half 10%. And then if it breaks beneath the pivot, depending on the chart, you might actually consider going short. And again, all we need to do is click on them. And if we open up that lower panel, voila, there's the charts. And if let's just pull one up, we see it has a nice, here's a double bottom within a cup. This is technically an Eve and Adam double bottom. And look at this nice tight pivot that Regeneron is setting up. So we could, if we take a look, the high is at about 842. Over here it's 847, but we look at the most recent action. So I would set an alert at right about 842 and be ready to buy if it breaks out of this pivot. You can go through all of these and do that same thing. But now, just for fun, let's take a look at those 6 stocks that broke out today, and let's just see what we've got. I suppose at this point I should say this is not investment advice. It's just for entertainment, just for education, and I encourage you to check out my Patreon. I show my current portfolio and focus list every weekend. And I do some blog posts too. There's a link in the description for that. So here are those 6 stocks again. And just a little technical troubleshooting point. Every once in a while when I click on the breakout stocks or pivot point stocks, they don't seem to load. And then what I need to do is just close the chart web page here and the MarketSmith web page and open them back up. And then they magically load. I probably need to clear some cookies or something, but that works for me. So the first of the 6 is Vertex Pharmaceuticals, VRTX. Let's go to the monthly, nice long multi-year uptrend. Definitely like that. We've got kind of a multi-year cup handle, which has turned into a stage 2 uptrend. That looks great. Relative strength is 89. That's a little bit low. Ideally, you want to be in the high 90s, but certainly I think Minervini's cutoff is 88. Mark Minervini, 2-time U.S. investing champ. Earnings is a month out. That's good. This company makes a ton of money, $15 per share. Therapies for cystic fibrosis, which is a terrible lung disease, I believe. Let's see. EPS has been a little spotty, but you know, the economy was so bad the last couple years that many companies have a reduction in earnings and or sales the last quarter or two. Single digit earnings, low double digit sales, nothing too exciting on that front. But honestly, it looks pretty good. This is the 1 year chart. I just pulled it up on stockcharts.com. I like the charts better on stockcharts.com. And it's just a little bit extended. It's a little bit wide and loose. At this point, I'd like to see it come back and tighten up and just give us a little bit better of a pivot. Let's see how sometimes it can deceive you. So even though that looks really wide and loose, that's really only 5%. So if this came back in to 365 or so and then started to roll upwards again, I would be comfortable taking on a position. Another thing we can do when we're doing fundamental research on these things is to pull up my partner Seeking Alpha Premium. And before I buy a stock, I do a little research on Seeking Alpha. I've been using it for decades, probably about 20 years. And I just look at, this gives me access to the transcripts, the different fundamental numbers all along here. You just click on them like so, dividends, etc. But what I like best of all is here's instant access to all the news. Looks like they have a diabetes drug candidate apparently. And then here are some analytical articles written by analysts. Vertex Pharmaceuticals deserves its monopoly premium indeed. We could read some of these articles or at least skim the bullet points, get a much better feel for the stock. Let's look at another one. Okay, this is EG Everest Group, Bermuda-based company offering reinsurance and insurance. Insurance is a really boring business, but it's been many of their stocks have been great investments. This one, we're just looking at the weekly here. It has a little bit of, it has a 1.8% dividend yield. That's nice to see. This is a spectacularly profitable company. $51 per share in earnings. Relative strength, 92. Earnings are due out in just 2 weeks. So we want to be a little bit cautious. Certainly we could buy it now, but we would want to sell out of the position if we don't have a nice cushion going into earnings. The monthly, nice looking chart here, up and to the right as we like to see. Looking again at the monthly, we have a kind of a compressed left side here, but a pretty good cup with handle breakout, and now it is firmly in stage 2, which is where we want to buy our stocks. Looking at the 1 year, let's jump over to stockcharts.com. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. This is the 1 year chart, and one could argue that we see, I would even call this a triple bottom. You also could call it a head and shoulders, although these two shoulders are pretty symmetrical. In any case, what we have is oscillations that are getting smaller. That's called volatility contraction, VCP. That's a Minervini term. Let me show you. Here's a contraction. Here's a contraction. Here's a contraction. Here's a contraction. And with each oscillation, more of the weak hands get shaken out. This just took off, came in hard today, sitting right at this point of support. If this opened to the upside on Monday, what day is today? Thursday. Tomorrow, if this opened to the upside tomorrow, I actually would be pretty comfortable taking on a small position. Yeah, that's not far at all. 3%. Now, as far as a stop, let's say we bought it right there. Way down here, I would probably stretch my stop and put it right underneath the 50-day at about 369. If an 8% stop is too much for you, then do one at like 380 and one at 369. And then the last thing we could do, we could jump on Seeking Alpha, link again in the description. Everest Group, here's the news. Everest reaches, and the analysts, Everest reaches peak performance. Everest Group, fantastic performance as pricing momentum continues. Here's the article. We could read the summary, etc. All right, everybody. I would love to go through all 6 of these stocks, but I'm supposed to be somewhere very shortly, and I'm going to be late if I don't get the heck out of here. So I better stop this video and post it when I get a chance. But here are the stocks that broke out today. You can just take a little screenshot or pause the video and write them down. And here are the stocks that are set up in a nice pivot area that we can go long off of if they break out of that pivot point. Pause the video, write them down if you want to. That's all the time I have. Wish I had more time. I encourage you to check out my Patreon and let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Take care, everybody.